Hello, hello. I am Coach Jay, and it's a beautiful day. Ba-dum-bum. I am an intrapersonal relationship coach and betrayal trauma practitioner. What does all that mean? Not much. If you need help with anything, just reach out to me. We'll make it work. I always like to start my classes with a corny dad joke, and today's is this. My wife thinks it's weird that I stare at the window during a heavy rainstorm. It would be a lot less weird, though, if she would just let me in. Ba-dum-bum. Okay. If you can take 2 deep healing breaths with me, in through the nose, out through the mouth, preferably with your eyes closed, but do this however you feel safe. Breathe in all that healing oxygen and let go of any tension, negativity, drama, if you have a Italian family like mine. All right. The class today, I'm going to talk about how to help somebody with trauma. Now, I'm going to be covering topics of how we can help others with trauma, but most certainly save and share these tips and techniques with others, especially if there's others in your life that are trying to help you with your trauma. Whether that's, there's some coaches and counselors out there that are not trauma informed. Obviously, there's family members that could help you out. And certainly if you're reconciling with a spouse, these are things that they could help you out with as well. So it's not always easy to know how to help after a traumatic event, but there are many ways that you could support your loved one, or a loved one can support you regarding the area of trauma, certainly betrayal trauma. In this class, I will be mentioning trauma, but keep in mind this includes betrayal trauma, as I just mentioned. It could be difficult seeing your loved one experiencing the effects of trauma. Not knowing how to help them can interfere with giving much needed social support and that loved ones can provide. And I always say, keep in mind, when you share trauma with people, I believe the majority of them, if not all of them, have the best intentions. They just don't have the best answers. A lot of times you tell somebody something and they're like, just leave, just leave, just leave, divorce, divorce, divorce. Well, it's because they want to help heal you, and they're going for the quickest Band-Aid. So I think people have the best intentions. They just are ill-informed. Whether the person affected by trauma is your spouse or partner, family member, or a friend, equipping yourself with the correct information can be the first step in helping your loved one, or giving them information could be the first step in them helping you. Find encouragement and support through one-to-one messaging and advice from others dealing with trauma. And again, preferably if people are trauma informed. A lot of times people go to their church pastors or fathers or preachers, ministers, and as wonderful as faith is, without question, seminary school doesn't really deal with trauma per se, and if it does, it's on just a basic level. So how can you help, or how can I help? Trauma is a prevalent and almost universal occurrence. According to the Sidran Institute, around 70% of adults in the United States experience a traumatic event in their lifetime. And about 20% of them go on to develop symptoms that meet the criteria for PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. Trauma isn't about the traumatic event that occurred, rather our response to it, which is why 2 people can endure the same exact traumatic event, and one can walk away not traumatized and the other one doesn't. It depends on so many things: our childhood trauma, our resiliency, all kinds of things like that. There could be a sense of helplessness when seeing your loved ones deal with trauma. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how you can help your spouse, or your spouse can help you after a traumatic event, such as betrayal, maybe. So get informed about the effects of trauma. Although the vast amount of information can feel overwhelming, the first step in helping a loved one, or your loved one helping you, is to get informed about trauma. Now, that just doesn't mean that you read an article and you're a trauma-informed expert. It means that you really have, there's a lot involved with trauma. Every single time I take a class, I learn something new that I didn't know before. It's like that song by Barbra Streisand sings. I forgot what the song is, but it's every step I take reminds me of how much more I have to go. But anyways, a general understanding of what trauma is and how it impacts the lives can go a long way of helping. While you don't need to know everything about trauma to help your loved one, you should be informed, like I just said. The term trauma doesn't just mean PTSD. Trauma is often used as an umbrella term that can refer to the traumatic event itself. Extremely high levels of general stress in response to an event, or it could be referred to as PTSD, which is a specific set of experiences in response to an event. So I have PTSD from. Some people quickly recover from a traumatic event, but others may have lasting difficulties. Some people actually can work through trauma really within a matter of probably days or weeks. Other people, it could very well take decades. And again, that's based on your childhood trauma, your resiliency, the type of trauma, the bond you had with the person who traumatized you. I mean, many factors play a part. The APA, which is the American Psychological Association, describes trauma as an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, sexual assault, or natural disaster. My definition for trauma, betrayal trauma, is life-altering powerlessness, life-depleting powerlessness. When you find out the person you loved and trusted the most broke trust with you, there is an overwhelming sense of powerlessness. What did I miss? What did I do? Where am I going? What should I think? You are completely hopeless and helpless. Complex trauma refers to a particular set of symptoms resulting from what may often be multiple events, such as physical, emotional, or sexual abuse that's ongoing. The stress of complex trauma can negatively affect a person's relationships, work, and physical health. So if you've been, emotionally abused as a child consistently, sexually abused consistently, if you were a prisoner of war, that could cause CPTSD. Those are ongoing traumas. Severe traumatic experiences can cause a condition which is called PTSD, which is defined as a condition that develops in some people who've experienced or witnessed a shocking, threatening, or dangerous event. Some people might have witnessed like a murder scene, and that could cause PTSD with them. After experiencing a traumatic event, people may have a different emotional response. Some of the more common responses of these traumatic responses are nightmares, distressful and intrusive memories, flashbacks, increased feelings of anxiousness, self-blame or blaming others for the event. Now, obviously, blaming others for something they do is fine, but are we also using that as a deflective technique not to, see, feel, heal? Avoiding things that remind you of trauma, such as places, people, or things. Difficulty concentrating, disassociation, where we withdrawn or we shut down. Sleep disturbances, difficulty feeling happiness. This is why a lot of times people have to get on, medications, but, either temporarily or long-term, because your coping mechanisms are just completely overwhelmed. If you notice these responses in yourself or a loved one, know that this is normal. It's a normal response to trauma. Receiving the right support from a qualified coach or counselor can help reduce their impact. After a trauma, people may experience triggers, which could be anything that reminds them of the event that results in an emotional response or PTSD symptom. Sometimes triggers can set off memories and physical symptoms where your loved ones actually, or you, completely relive the event. Now, I want to say when it comes to triggers, and I am kind of deviating a little bit, but when it comes to triggers are there to inform us. They're not there to threaten us. We want to feel and acknowledge the trigger. We don't want to indulge in it. Yes, this trigger hurts. Yes, it sucks. Yes, it happens. I'm healing. Don't jump in that swimming pool of triggers and decide to go for a 45-minute swim. Because other people cause us pain, we cause ourselves suffering. So support them by listening, or tell them it's important that they listen to you if you're the one traumatized. Active listening. Active listening is less about responding and more about attentively focusing on what's shared. Listening to your loved one or having your loved one listen to you without judgment or pressure can go a long way in helping them. Listen, oftentimes we just need to get things off our chest. I mean, sometimes when we have trauma in us, it's like a bottle of soda. You shake that so much and don't ever take the top off, it could eventually explode. So sometimes just talking to somebody and having them listen helps tremendously. Um, Support their need for space or your need for space. After a traumatic event, it's common to lose a sense of safety. And yes, I always say after you find out a betrayal, especially from a primary attachment, such as a partner, a parent, a child, a boss, you not only are now questioning the safety of your relationship with them, you're now questioning the safety of the world around you in every area. So be mindful of of personal space, yours or theirs, if they're the one traumatized. Avoid touching, giving hugs without expressed permission, especially if somebody had a sexual assault. You want to be very careful honoring those physical boundaries or having your physical boundaries respected. Space can also refer to emotional space, which could be very important for the supporting loved one. An example of emotional space would be not pressuring anybody to speak about the experience or the event that they've had, but letting them letting them know that they're there if they need you. So, for instance, let's just say you're the one betrayed. Your spouse doesn't. I mean, obviously, hopefully, they are talking about their role, that why they betrayed. But they could also over talk it to the point where they say, listen, anytime you need to bring it up, I am absolutely a soft place to land and we will talk about it, but I'm going to wait until you bring it up. Let me know when you're ready. I want you to feel completely safe and in charge and empowered. Support by being present. You know, if you're present without any expectations about how they're going to respond or how you're going to respond to their presence, their triggers, your triggers, you can offer support and be attentive to any emotional behavior changes with your loved one or with you if you're the one betrayed. This allows them to learn about your triggers and allows your space for your pain. They should also be patient. After a traumatic event, a person might not know what they need. So the person needs to be patient. You know, I often say, oftentimes after betrayal, we ask the same question about 15 different times. And here's one of the reasons why. Our filter after abuse, after trauma, after betrayal gets very blurred, very skewed, very damaged. So we might ask, how could you do that the first day? Because we just need some sense of sanity. 2 days later, we might say, how could you do that? Or why did you do that? Because now we need understanding. 2 weeks or 2 months later, we might ask, why did you do that? How could you do that? Because now we need safety. 2 years later, we could ask, how could you do that? Why did you do that? Because now we need healing. So, you know, be patient. You know, you have to be patient with yourself as well. Allow people to help with routines. You know, a common symptom of a trauma response or PTSD is hard concentrating, hard sometimes doing your daily activities. Ask people to help you. Just do your daily activities if you need. Practice self-care. I say this all the time ad nauseum, so I'm not really going to spend time on this, but a trauma affects the person involved in every way. There's people that want to stay in bed cry for 4 days on end. And while you should give yourself that time and ability to cry, you still need to eat and shower and drink to replenish those tears. So self-care has to be a priority. On top of that, you need to empower yourself with self-care because, again, choices were robbed from you. So you have to empower yourself with self-care, including giving yourself the power of choice. And that's choice in every area, whether you're making the choice to go to the store and buy bread, you're making the choice to eat, you're making the choice to allow yourself to sit down and cry in your bed. But you have to give yourself overtly those choices. Now, what to say, what not to say. While people may have good intentions, and I mentioned this before, sometimes certain comments can hurt more than help. Keep in mind, people aren't going to say things perfectly. The goal is to show you support, to show you safety, and to show you trust. Keep in mind, people have the best intentions, just not the right tools. Some suggestions for what you might want to hear or what you can tell other people is, I'm here for you. And if you want to share these with somebody else, that, you know, things that would be nice for you to hear, How can I help you right now? Thank you for trusting me to share this. I believe you. I believe in you. I believe you can get through this. We can get through this together. I'm here to listen. You are loved. You are safe. Consider avoiding the following statements or share with people these are statements to avoid. Anything that's dismissive, it wasn't that bad, or just move on. You're lucky, or look at it on the bright side, or it could have been worse. These might sound like they're helpful, but they're really not. Any assumptions like, I know how you feel. Listen, I don't care if somebody else went through the same exact experience you did to the T. They're not you. They don't have your dynamics. They don't have your childhood. They don't have your life experiences. Nobody knows what it's like to walk a mile in your shoes. And even if they did, they still wouldn't know what it felt like for you to walk a mile in your shoes. And certainly any type of judgmental statements such as, you shouldn't have done this, or if you were doing that, this wouldn't have happened, blah, blah. So, the last thing I just want to say is, helping one another find help. It could be challenging to see your loved one deal with trauma, or your loved one seeing you deal with trauma. You might feel as if it's your job, or your partner might feel as if it's their job to take the pain away, or to quote, cure you. But we're humans. We simply can't do that no matter how hard we try, especially if they were the ones who hurt us. They cannot be judge and jury and whatever that is. Like they can't be both your counselor and your source of hurt. They can be a source of safety. They can't be your source of your only source of healing. They can even be your primary source of healing. They can't be your only source of healing, because 9 times out of 10 they were unhealed themselves, which got them into a situation that they did that broke your trust. After experiencing trauma, many people benefit from seeking professional mental support, which is why you're probably watching this now. Some people experience symptoms after a traumatic event that may find them symptoms resolved on their own with little intervention. I did cover this. While the emotional response of other people might take a lot of time from a therapist, a coach, wraparound service, workbooks and prayer and meditation and journaling and you name it. And this can go on for months, years, hopefully not decades. Although the lessons from it certainly can last decades, but hopefully the lessons are good, not bad. Because, and I don't mind to deviate, one of the things I always say is oftentimes while we're healing, we use certain techniques and tactics to heal, but we got to be very careful that we don't eventually address those techniques and tactics so they don't morph into our personality, because then we take that quote new personality into new relationships, even if we're reconciling, or into life. And that new jaded person is not who we are or who we've become. It's who we temporarily allowed ourselves to be based on the circumstances of our betrayal. So just be careful you're healing in every way, shape and form. Anyways, a 2016 study trusted source indicated that yoga might be a helpful way to regain mental and physical health. So like I said, meditation, prayer, yoga, any type of support. And like I said, a lot of times you just don't even know what you need. And these are some really good reasons why you should spend a lot of time getting to know what you need, whether it's journaling, self-reflecting, introspective, to find out what you need, so you can ask the people around you that you're working with, whether it's professionals or family or friends or what have you. This is what I need, keeping in mind your needs are going to change over time.